to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Just a couple housekeeping notes. If you turn your cell phones either on vibrate or turn them off, that would be great. Restrooms are out the back doors, and take a right. Take a right for the women and another right for the men. You just keep going around the hall. So if you have to go, you might want to go early because it's a long walk. We also want to recognize one candidate that's here tonight that is running unopposed. I think I know her pretty well. She's my mother, Judy Yarris. So Judy, if you'll stand up. So she's running unopposed for City Council Ward 4. And at this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our moderator for this evening, Wendy Jennings.
Thanks, Dan. Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, I'm as excited as you are to meet our candidates for this evening, and I'm very interested in hearing their message, as all of you, I'm sure, are too. They will be your voice representing you in your own community, so I'm really glad to see those of you that have come this evening to hear their messages. Tonight's format is fairly a simple one that we'll be following, and I want to just first of all let you know that the guys that are in the back, part of the advocacy team, they'll be available for you during one of our segments if we have time after the question and answer session. You can flag them down. They'll have cards that you can fill out for questions that you may want to ask of the candidates. Again, we'll do this only if time permits after the question and answer session.
Did you know about that? Okay.
So welcome to the 6 candidates. We're so happy to have you here, and we're especially thrilled that you've raised your hand basically to stand up for the community and say, I want to be in a very important part of this community. So win or lose, the advocacy team of the Bryan Chamber wants to congratulate you on running for your public office, and we wish you all the best. Audience, some information about this evening is we'll be starting with introductions of the candidates. We'll be asking questions for the Board of Public Affairs and then the City Council members. They'll each be given a series. There will be 3 questions that they'll each be answering. And then after that, they'll be looking in the lights Dan Yarris has in the back, timing them because it'll be a 3-minute question and answer session. All right, so let's begin here with the first group. We're going to start, and let's see, Dan just gave me this, and we're going to start with the Board of Public Affairs. So let's begin with introductions, starting with, you'll get 1-minute introduction, starting with Miss Bonnie Kimpling-Kelly.
Good evening. My name is Bonnie Kimpling-Kelly, and I'm running for re-election to the Bryan Board of Public Affairs. I've been a faithful board member for the last 4 years and am currently serving as board chair. I'm a 2000 graduate of Leadership Williams County and have a good base knowledge of our city and county government. I've worked hard to establish solid working relationships not only with our city, but also county, state, and national legislators. I have been very active on the board and have taken every possible opportunity to take formal training in areas of our involvement. Being a good board member is much more than just attendance at a Tuesday meeting. When I'm re-elected, I will continue to act in the best interest of the organization as a whole, including our BMU family, local businesses, and residents. Be aware of legislation which is relevant to BMU, contribute to debate in an informed and constructive manner, respect confidential information, and will be unafraid to ask the tough questions that lead to effective answers and problem solving as outlined in the duties of the board. I have proudly made Bryan my home and want to serve in a manner that continues to make Bryan one of the 100 best small towns. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. And now, Mr. Bill Pepple. You've got a minute.
I'm waiting for the green light, red light, sorry. I'm Bill Peppel, and I'm running for a seat on the Bryan Board of Public Affairs. The BPA is the governing body of the Bryan Municipal Utilities. BMU is big business. Millions of dollars in contracts and services are dealt with each month. If elected, my vision for serving on the BPA has three parts. First, my candidacy is built upon a servant mentality. I will put the interests of our customers first. BMU is an asset that exists to provide the best possible services for the community, and I intend to incorporate that mindset in every decision I make. Secondly, I would bring over 30 years of experience as a business owner to the BPA. I understand retail customer service, how to manage operations to generate a profit, and also that good ideas can cost less yet produce more. That is called efficiency. Thirdly, I intend to bring new energy to the BPA. I will ask questions and evaluate presentations before making decisions. I will lead by listening to all sides and welcome change when it serves the best interests of our customers. Leadership invites participation. Leadership welcomes criticism. I have experience as I have served on the BPA. I understand business. I'm a proven leader in the community. Please vote for Bill Peppel for BPA. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peppel. And Mr. Thomas Sproul.
Thank you. I'm Tom Sproul, and I'm running for the Board of Public Affairs. I'm a Bryan native, graduate of Bryan High School. I have a business degree from Ohio State University. I've been a math teacher, been in the real estate business, been in the automobile business, worked at Potter Incorporated for 30 years, retired in 2011 as senior sales manager. I've been involved in several community activities over these years. But one thing I've never done, I've never held an elected office. But I think the time is now. Other than church and family, I have no other outside commitments. I can devote time and energy to study the issues, learn about utilities, attend conferences, seminars, and meetings. I can lend a new set of eyes and ears to the board and work with the board as a team. The only thing is, you won't know the starting five till November 3rd. I'm dedicated and committed to making the best decisions for our community, our city, our citizens, for now and for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sproul. Okay, so I first want to let you know, audience and candidates, we're going to move to the question and answer segment with the Board of Public Affairs first. And the questions that are being presented this evening are not the opinions of me or the advocacy team or the chamber board. The questions that have been submitted actually came from community members, and those were then provided to the candidates, a list, and then that list was narrowed down for this evening, which will just be asking the three questions. Candidates, you will have 3 minutes to answer the question, and I won't be picking any particular order. It's just random in the order that I'm going to be asking the questions and asking each of you. So if everybody's ready, we can go ahead and get started. Okay. Let's begin with Miss Bonnie Kimpling Kelly. Bonnie, if cost savings can be achieved and the BPA has cash accumulated for future projects, what projects would you like to see developed?
At BMU, we work hard to maintain reliable, cost-effective power for the community. We do this by carefully planning and budgeting each year, followed by adherence to that budget throughout the year with monthly reporting at committee meetings. At the committee meetings, the financials are reviewed, and the percent of expenditures for the year and the percent of receipts for the year are compared relevant to the year. The budget's done in such a conservative yet thorough manner that we come out below budget for expenditures and above budget for receipts nearly every month. With this in mind, we are able to manage our fund balance in a manner that allows us to eliminate the need for entering into debt to outside entities, thereby eliminating interest charges. A positive fund balance allows us to plan ahead for capital projects so that erratic fluctuations in rates need not occur. Capital projects that I would like to see developed are those that support our mission of providing reliable and affordable rates, such as maintenance of infrastructure, repair of generation turbine number 2, affectionately known as GT2, and the pole replacement project.
Great. Thank you. And same question, please, Mr. Pepple.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely.
Good.
If cost savings can be achieved and the BPA has cash accumulated for future projects, what projects would you like to see developed?
I think those would be capital projects. The water plant in the city of Bryan was built in the 70s. And I believe that within the next few years, we're going to have to look to replace the water plant. So that would be a capital project that I would look closely at. Also, we have the capacity to produce power within BMU on the electric side, and we have been repairing the GT2 turbine, and we have to look to maintain all that power generation capacity and keep that up and running. So those, again, will be capital projects to look at. On the communication side, we're going to get to the useful life end, potentially, of the cable TV head end and some other equipment that's going to either need to be replaced or look at it to see if it's viable for its continuance. So I think those are projects that we'll potentially have to look at for future needs. And also we look at, we are distribution. That's what we do. We distribute power. And so anything could happen to one of our substations, damage or just wear and tear, and things have to be replaced and repaired. So those may be not as glamorous, but we certainly have to keep those things up and running and in good working order.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pepple. All right, Mr. Sproul, same question.
Well, I think I'm at a little disadvantage at this question, since I don't have the inside knowledge of the other two people on this platform. But the projects that I do know that are coming up, one is the AMI, which is Advanced Metering Infrastructure, which is a $1.6 million project. That's on the table. A new communications data center, about a $600,000 project, is on the table. And I think we'll be hearing more about those at the next BPA meeting, and I think they will both be in the upcoming budgets.
Okay, very good, thank you. All right. The next question we'll move on to, we'll begin with Mr. Bill Pepple. What do you feel are the advantages or disadvantages of being a community with two separate public boards?
I'm glad you asked the question because it comes up all the time. You know, why do we have the BPA and why can't the BPA be run by and city council? So on the advantage side, I think that having the BPA is a good thing because the BPA members and the utility then can focus on their operations. They're not distracted by something else that's maybe political at that time. They're looking at contracts that are long-term. We're making purchase power agreements. We're looking at trying to keep rates competitive, doing those things. And it takes, I think it takes focus to do those things. And as a BPA board member, you can concentrate and focus on those opportunities with which to do your business. When you're on the political side of the city council and somebody comes to you and says, listen, you're not picking up my garbage, the street's a problem, the sewers are a problem, I think that those things become political. When you're in fire and safety, those issues become more, I guess, apparent because of the noise level that they can come to you at. I think at the BPA we deal with some customer service issues. I'm not saying we don't, but really we're focused on long-term contracts and long-term providing dependable, cost-effective power, water, and communications for the citizens of Bryan. And I think it serves us well to have them both. Combined, I don't see that there's an advantage in it other than it would maybe save some money.
Okay, thank you. All right, same question, please, Mr. Sproul.
Well, on the positive side, I think people have different interests, abilities, backgrounds, and I'm speaking of the council and board members. I've been to both meetings, and from what I can see, the responsibilities of the boards in most cases are dissimilar. And the amount of information you need to know and comprehend is substantial. Having both the City Council and the Board of Public Affairs spreads out the load. The only negative I can say is that from time to time there may be overlapping or joint issues, in which case you both meet in joint session, and that's happened, I think, twice this year. Another positive, keeping both eliminates any need to change the city charter or the hiring of a city manager. I'm in favor of leaving it the way it is.
Thank you. All right, and Ms. Bonnie Kiffin-Kelly.
Many communities with municipal utilities have only electric departments, and almost none of them have a communications department with dark fiber connections for our city government, schools, and businesses to benefit, and a hospital to benefit from. This creates many more areas that the typical board member would have to study and be informed on. Our current arrangement allows for board members to have a clear focus as to the ultimate goal for each department. From my research, the communities who have one board and have similar capacity as ours elect larger boards that are compensated much higher than here. Increased costs lead to increased rates. I don't believe the typical ratepayer wants to foot that bill.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kelly. And now we'll go on to the final question for the Board of Public Affairs. And I'll begin this with Mr. Sproul. Do you think improvements could be made in the operating budget to reduce costs and improve efficiency? And if so, what improvements, or how would you improve it?
Okay, by improvements, I think you mean lowering the operating budget. So we have three areas to this question. Number one, lowering the operating budget. Number two, reduction of cost. Number three, improvement of efficiencies. But I think you've got the question is backwards. I think the first thing you think about is the room for improvement of efficiencies. And there's always room for efficiencies, improvement, whether it's new technology, whether it's better training of employees. There are a lot of ways. So if you improve the efficiencies, you'll get the reduction of costs, and with the reduction of costs, you get the lowering of the operating budget. It's like a domino effect. You do one, the other two fall in place.
Very good. Thank you. And same question, Ms. Kelly?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. Do you think improvements could be made in the operating budget to reduce costs and improve efficiency? If so, what or how?
I believe there's always room for improvement, and I believe that our director and our human resources director, as well as all department heads and the line staff, are dedicated to improving their knowledge base. Nearly every board meeting, we hear of more staff pursuing education and training that is not required of them. They take time out of their personal lives to attend conferences relevant to our field. One look at the output of our solar field and Auglaize Hydro demonstrate that these projects consistently perform at or above projected rates. We have some of the lowest electric rates in Ohio as compared to investor-owned utilities and cooperatives. For water, the proposed rate increase at the end of the 5-year period are still lower than many of the rates of utilities our size are charging today. I believe that improvements are being made, and we can continue to be made to reduce costs and improve efficiency.
Thank you. All right, same question, Mr. Pepple?
Yes, I believe that the director of the utilities, Bryan Carlin, comes to the BPA and to the board for, I think he brings opportunities for us to, at that point, to authorize training, authorize upgrades of equipment for the individuals that work at the utility. And I think that all the employees of the utility are professionals in what they do. I think they want to strive to do the best job that they possibly can, have the most up-to-date equipment with which to do it. Now, as a BPA, that's kind of it's kind of oversee that. We're not in the day-to-day operations of that, seeing what efficiencies are out there. But I think that those discussions happen in committees, and those discussions happens with the employees and their supervisors, how to become more efficient. If I had this training, if we could do this, if we could do that. Now, at a board level, sometimes projects are brought to us that said, well, maybe we'll do this project internally. Maybe we'll lay this water line, this 200 feet or 600 feet of new water line. And as a question as a board member would be, is that the most efficient and effective way to do that? We're not really in the construction business to do a new water line, but could we use employees to do that and have that happen, and be more efficient and effective? Or could we bid that and have it done on the outside and be done cheaper? So those are kind of things that I think come up and are opportunities for the board then to make those types of decisions and direct the director on how we should proceed.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Bethel. That ends our question segment for the Board of Public Affairs. And if you keep in mind, if you need cards to write questions at the end of the forum, if we have time, then we'll have the opportunity to present some questions to the board at that time for any of you that might have them, okay? Great. Thank you, candidates. We really wish you the best of luck. All right, we're going to move on to the next part of our program here, and we're going to meet the candidates we have for the council seat at large. And we're going to begin with introductions. You'll have 1 minute to introduce yourself. And just keep an eye on the light back there with Mr. Dan. And we'll begin with you, Mr. Mike Beaver.
Council at large. I'm 54 years old. I was born in the city of Bryan, graduated from Bryan High School, and the smartest thing I ever did in my life was marry my wife, Sue. I have been in this community all my life, done business in and out of the city of Bryan all my life, and lived right around here. I think the city of Bryan has a great mix of businesses. We have large industry, we have medium-sized industry, and we have small mom and pop shops. We have great restaurants. And I really love being a part of the city of Bryan. I really believe in Bryan and think it's a wonderful place to live. The only other comment I'd make is that I'm going to have a very much a disadvantage to my other two opponents because I am follically challenged and they are not. So, thank you, and I appreciate your support.
Thank you, Mike. All right, and we'll move on to Miss Vicki Long next.
Hello, my name is Vicki Long. I have been a Bryan resident for the last 35 years. Originally, I am from Toledo, Ohio. We moved to this community in 1980 and brought a young family with us. We were fortunate enough to come to this city that was exciting. There was a lot of enthusiasm. There were things that were here that were not found in larger cities like Toledo. I have worked with a home budget. I have financial background. I worked at Chief Supermarket for 28 years, just recently retiring. In that capacity, I held an HR position. I did office work, and I was a department manager. I have also been involved. I was on the Montessori board. I was president of the Women's Welcome Club. I had 2 businesses. I was an antique dealer for over 20 years, and I also had a catering business. We are currently volunteering at a food pantry here in town, and that's been my passion for the last 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and finally for City Council we have Miss Carrie Schlade.
Thank you. Good evening. I am Carrie Schlade, and I am excited for the opportunity to serve on City Council. My husband Josh and I have 3 children, Lily, Eli, and Emma, who attend Bryan City Schools. I started working in Bryan in 1999. In 2008, my family moved to Bryan from Montpelier, where my husband owns a business. Since moving here, I have become deeply rooted and invested in the Bryan community. We have much to be proud of in the city, but there is always room for growth and new vision. I want to be a part of the leadership that helps move Bryan forward in today's changing times. I understand city government, having been a former employee of the Bryan City Attorney. I understand its workings from being a former member of the Bryan Planning and Zoning Commission. Because of my involvement in city business and the volunteer work I have given to the Bryan community through a variety of organizations, I feel I am most qualified for this job. I would appreciate your support on November 3rd. I would also like to thank the Chamber for having us here this evening, and I would like to sincerely thank Dick Wright and Dick Reed for their years of value service on City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so let's move on to the question segment here, and we'll begin with Mr. Mike Beaver for the first question. And Mike, city ordinances are currently in place addressing property blight and neglect. How would you better enforce these issues to maintain safety and beauty in our neighborhoods?
I don't, in the past, usually if we fix up a street or make improvements on sidewalks and things like that, people will fix up their houses accordingly. And but we cannot force them to paint or do sightly things like that. All we can do is force them to cut their weeds and their lawns according to the city ordinances. So that would be my answer, because I don't, without being on city council before and seeing those problems before, I don't know how else to address that.
All right, thanks, Mike. Same question, Ms. Long.
Okay. I believe there's only so much that can be done. All communities struggle with this issue. This is an ongoing issue that everyone has found to be of an important point. There are ordinances that we do have in place. These ordinances can be enforced. Sometimes that's not always of the best interest. We need to look at what could be necessary. If these aren't working, we need to come up with some new reasons, maybe be creative, and I feel that I could help do that. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. All right, Mrs. Slade?
Yes, I think we need to advocate for a more aggressive code enforcement. When an issue of blight and neglect occurs, a resident can call to the police department and make a complaint. At the same time, though, we need to work to find resources for low to moderate income homeowners to financially assist them with mandated repairs. We currently have a program that is a grant program called the CHIP program for improvement of lower income homes. We also need to educate the public on these funds available to them. I've also, not being on city council, researched this extensively, but it could be possible to partner with an organization such as Habitat for Humanity. As a whole, working towards taking care of neglected properties is going to take a community effort, and it's also going to take community support in order to help the situation.
Great, thank you. All right, our next question, I'm going to begin with you, Vicki. Okay. What improvements do you think are needed in our city? Would the focus be infrastructure improvements, budget allocations, or perhaps another issue?
Well, not knowing and having an understanding of how city council works, that would be a difficult question for me to answer. I look forward to be able to get in and use my expertise and all my ideas and my commitments to look at these a little bit better. There's only so much that can be done with all the communities. We just need to work. We need to put more jobs in place and try and get the job done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome. All right. Same question for you, Carrie.
Okay, as far as infrastructure, I met with all of the department heads and Brian Carlin from Bryan Municipal Utilities when I decided to run for city council because I thought it was important to see what their plans were for the future, what they were currently working on, any issues they had, any support they felt they needed from council. I also talked about Fountain Grove Drive with the engineer Bryan Whelan because I know that's a hot topic in our community. He did inform me that he applied for the Ohio Public Works grant. He's waiting to hear back. He should know by December. If he receives this grant, it would be a 50-50 grant up to $500,000. So the city would pay, which is in their budget, $250,000 for a 12-inch till up and depth, and then also 4 inches of asphalt. They would be able to widen that road. They do not intend to curb and gutter it, as it would cause issue for the agricultural services that need to be traveled down those roads. I've also seen his 10-year plan as far as improvements in the city as streets go, and I think he has them prioritized correctly. However, he asked me not to share that because sometimes some things become in a greater need of urgency than others, so his plan can change within the next 10 years. As far as the budget, I think it's important to note that all of the departments have taken a 10% decrease in their funds the last few years. I think that speaks a lot to the council in being proactive with the budget. I also believe that one way we could help with the reduction of budget is dealing with attrition. When someone retires, we need to look within that department to see if those jobs can be spread out through the current employees. That would give us large cost savings, not just in wages, but also insurance benefits. Another thing, there's obviously ways that we could be, making the day-to-day operations more efficient. As a city council member, I'm not sure that that would fall under my discretion. I think the department heads and mayors need to look at that and decide where they need to be. And then the next one is, sorry, I lost myself in my notes, I apologize. I want to talk about new business. We have Bryan Industrial Park North that is just starting to be developed. I think we need to look into getting large power users, quality job creators, possibly in the industrial and manufacturing side. We need to make sure that we take care of our home base. We have a lot of great businesses here, and we need to make sure in our zest to build that we don't negatively impact one of our home businesses. I think we need to open up the lines of communication with our corporations. I think City Council needs to be more available to them. They don't always come to us when they're having issues, and I think it would be proactive, and I would love to lead the charge on that in meeting with local companies and talking to them about their needs and how we can help them sustain a balanced business in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, same question, Mike.
Yeah, I agree with Carrie on a lot of those things. She's covered it very well. As far as the budget, she's right. The over 70% of the budget is employee related. So if there's any ways to help with efficiencies in that regard, that would be a tremendous improvement. Our streets are an ongoing issue, maintenance issues all the time. The Fountain Grove issue, of course, is going to be an ongoing thing here for the next 30 plus years, obviously, with this new school issue and everything going on, and traffic and all that going out there. My understanding is the wastewater collection facility needs to be updated and added to also, so that'll be a upcoming budget issue in the future. We need to try and attract more business with the new industrial park, and also, and I agree, we need to support the businesses that we have in town now, because we've got a lot of long established businesses that need our support and need the recognition. They've been here a long time. The Bard's family has been here a long time, and a lot of the other Spanglers, and a lot of those businesses need our support. So we just need to look at more efficient ways. There's always more efficient ways to do things, but without slashing budgets and causing problems that way. But I think City Council has done a good job in the past, and hope we can be part of the future. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now we'll move on to the final question, and I'll begin this one with Ms. Carrie Schley. Carrie, what do you feel are the advantages or disadvantages of being a community with two separate public boards?
Okay, I believe back in the early 1900s there was a lawsuit against Bryan. The state of Ohio at that point set up the two governing entities. BPA was created at that time. I think if a large group of citizens push for a change, it would require our city charter to be rewritten. It would also require a vote from the citizens. To my knowledge, there has not been a large push for this, and currently council and BPA have a very good working relationship with combined goals of bettering our city. I look forward to working with all of those individuals if elected. Many of you may know me as a conservative. I tend to look at the financial incentives. In the case of going to one board or council, I find no financial benefit. If we dissolved BPA, we would lose the specialized knowledge of that board. We also would likely need to hire a city administrator, like other Ohio communities have done. I actually contacted Napoleon, Ohio city administrator, and I asked her what her wages were. They were $83,000 a year plus benefits. When you take 5 people on a council or a BPA and they get paid $250 a meeting, up to 32 meetings a year, they make about $8,000. So if you multiply that, it's only $40,000. I just don't see this as a wise financial decision.
Okay, same question, Mike?
It has always worked in Bryan. I think after listening to the other candidates, they kind of specialize in their field, and I think they know what they're doing. And I agree with Bill that city council is a little more political, and I guess I'll have to field the complaints so that Bill doesn't have to. But anyway, but I do know where Bill lives. But I think the system's worked for a long time in Bryan, obviously, and I don't see any reason to change it. I think you don't want career politicians. You watch the fights in Toledo and things like that. I think you'd be looking at closer to career politicians if you had the two boards combined. So I think it should be left alone.
Thank you. All right.
How can I
And
top both of those? Oh, my gosh. There are other communities in Ohio that have these two entities, and they seem to be working fine. Ours seems to be working fine. I agree we don't need a city manager. They complement each other in all actuality, and they seem to be managing the city fine on both aspects. One managing utilities and the other managing the city. It's a check and balance for both. So what else can I say?
Okay, thank you. And I want to thank all of you that are running for Bryan City Council, as well as the team here. We want to wish you all the best of luck for November 3rd election. And I don't know, have we picked up any audience questions, team? Do we have any audience questions that are prepared yet to come? If you want to bring them up and we can look them over, then if not, we can move on to a closing. Okay, then what we'll do is we'll begin with the Board of Public Affairs, and we'll let you all do each person do a 1-minute closing or final statement. Okay, and we can begin with you, Mr. Sproul.
Well, it's been a kind of an honor to be here. You know, I was thinking today. I only have you can only, let's put it this way. You can't choose where you were born, but you can choose where you live. And so I chose many years ago to live in Bryan, Ohio, raise my family in Bryan, Ohio, and stay in Bryan, Ohio. I wouldn't have it any other way. And so, win or lose, I'm going to be here. I just wish everybody good luck. I know there's going to be some disappointment, but that's politics. So, good luck to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Peffel?
My final comments would be that I would like to humbly serve the community again on the Board of Public Affairs. I enjoyed my service on the Board of Public Affairs. I learned a lot. Initially, I was encouraged. I went to the mayor, Doug Johnson, and asked him, I'd like to really consider running and learn about the city. And he said, I think you should run for the BPA, Bill, because you know the city council side of it. And I said, okay. And I took his advice, and I ran. I really enjoyed my service on the board, enjoyed learning what I knew, not what I knew, but learning what, enjoyed learning what I didn't know, and then trying to apply what I did learn, and felt it was a very, very positive experience. So I'd like to do that, continue my service and to the community, and have the community's best interests at heart. So that would be my final remarks.
Thank you. Ms. Kelly?
For the last 4 years, I've been dedicated to the people and businesses of Bryan, and it would be my distinct pleasure to continue to serve our local community for many years to come. In closing, I'd like to thank the Chamber, the Ideas team, and Bryan Municipal Utilities Communication Department for being here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the City Council candidates. We'll begin with you, Mr. Mike Beaver.
I just want to thank you for attending tonight, and thank you for the honor of running for City Council, even if I don't make it, but I plan on making it. Thank you very much for living in Bryan. I love living in Bryan, other than the winter sometimes. But I feel I have a lot of experience in the business side of Bryan, and I've been on some boards that deal with multi-million-dollar projects, and I would love to represent you on the City Council. Thank you.
Thanks. Mrs. Long?
Yes, being a resident here for so long and giving back to the community, I look at this as another way to step up and serve, and I would like to have that opportunity if you so see it. I feel I have a lot of expertise in my background to serve, and I am willing to learn. So, thank you.
Great, thanks. And Ms. Schley?
Okay. I think I'm going to point out the obvious thing. I am 36 years old. I feel strongly that it is time for someone of my generation to step up and help lead the city. If someone of our age does not, in a few decades, we're going to be in trouble because nobody my age will know how to lead. I also grew up in the Ayersville community, and one thing that taught me was that you took care of your own. And I want to take care of the city. I'm sorry. Sometimes I get nervous when I'm off the cuff. I just feel very strongly that I'm passionate, I'm approachable, and I want to help serve the citizens, all the residents. That's why I ran for at-large, because it would be the entire city. I want to thank everyone that I've met going door to door that've been so kind, and good luck to both of you and all three of you. And again, thank you for having us tonight.
Thank you. Wow. Well, I tell you, audience, I think that they deserve a big round of applause. It takes a lot of courage to get up here and do what you're doing, to even, like I said earlier, raise your hand and say, I want to be in this community and make a difference. And it's not just one person's job, right? It's all of our jobs. So I think we have a great bunch here, and I'm just excited to get to know you all more, as well as the rest of you. Tonight's forum will be broadcast on the BMU Channel 4 starting this Friday night. Check. Okay. What's that? 3 or 4 times?
I think it's channel 3 and 4.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. It'll also be posted on YouTube and Facebook pages. Okay? So he's got all that. If not, call Dan. Ask Dan. Right? All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for attending this evening. Thanks to the advocacy team from the Chamber. And I've enjoyed being your moderator. And candidates, will you be around for answers and answering some questions if people want to approach you and visit with you for a while and meet you?
Sure.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Sorry about the pause.